Which is better, the OnePlus Nord N20 5G or the Motorola Moto G 5G 2022? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Now, both of these devices were recently launched in the US, and I'm expecting both of them to be very popular all throughout this year and into the future. They both have quite a bit to offer as kind of lower end mid-range devices, really packing in quite a bit of value. Now definitely take a look at all the various links in the video description to see the most up-to-date pricing and availability for these devices, as I'm sure that will change as time goes on. And I would definitely recommend taking a look at your favorite carrier to see if they're offering these phones, as carriers definitely tend to offer much better deals and promotions compared to if you're just buying these phones factory unlocked. And at least at the moment that I'm recording this video, you can only get the OnePlus Nord N20 5G at T-Mobile and Metro by T-Mobile. However, I believe there is going to be an unlocked version of this phone that is launching in the future. Now, both of these devices do have very large displays in general, but there are quite a few differences. Now, the first thing is that with the Nord N20 5G, we have a 6.43-inch display compared to a slightly larger 6.5-inch display with the Moto G 5G 2022. Now, you can see when holding these two phones up next to each other, the G5G 2022 is definitely the larger phone of the two, and we also have smaller bezels all throughout here with the Nord N20 5G. Now, the display technology that we're getting is also different with these two devices. So with the OnePlus, we have an AMOLED display, whereas with the Motorola, we have an IPS LCD display. Now with the OnePlus, we have a 60Hz display compared to 90Hz as the refresh rate with the Moto G 5G 2022. So we're getting a little bit more of a premium experience here with that faster refresh rate. On the other hand though, the display in general is a lot higher quality with the Nord N20 5G. So I suppose that's the trade-off that we're getting here with these two devices. And to differentiate things even further, with the Nord N20 5G, we have a 1080p display compared to 720p with the Motorola. So not only are we getting AMOLED here, but we're also getting a higher display resolution. Really the only thing that makes the display better with the Moto G 5G 2022 is that it is 90Hz. Now by having an AMOLED display, you are getting much better viewing angles with the device, and outdoors, the screen is going to be a lot easier to look at. Now with the OnePlus, we're getting a PPI of 409 compared to 270 with the Motorola, and then both devices do feature 20:9 aspect ratios, so they have kind of a more narrow but taller form factor. Now having that form factor does make these phones ideal, especially for social media, because you're able to fit a lot more of your feed into a single frame. And then with the Nord N20 5G, we have an 85.3% screen to body ratio compared to an 81.4% screen to body ratio with the Motorola. Now with both of these devices, we do have hole punches for the front facing cameras, however the placement is different. So with the OnePlus, the front camera is in the upper left, whereas it is centered here with the Motorola. I'm definitely curious to know which configuration you prefer, so definitely let me know in the comment section below. And then with the OnePlus, the front camera is 16 megapixels compared to 13 megapixels with the Motorola. Now with the OnePlus Nord N20 5G, we are getting 128 gigabytes of internal storage. And then with the Motorola Moto G 5G 2022, if you buy this phone factory unlocked directly from Motorola, you're getting 256 gigabytes of internal storage, but if you get the phone from a carrier, it does come with just 64 gigabytes of storage. So that is something worth keeping in mind. Now thankfully, both of these devices do feature microSD card expansion, so if you do want to offload photos and videos, for example, onto a microSD card, then you can free up some of the internal storage on these devices. Now unfortunately, neither of these two phones have wireless charging, but they do both have fingerprint sensors. However, the implementation of them is a bit different. So with the Nord N20 5G, the fingerprint sensor is built into the display, as you can see right there. Let's try that one more time. So very fast and responsive and accurate, which is great. And then with the Moto G 5G, it's built into the power button. So that's also very fast and accurate as well. And in some ways, it's even faster than what we're getting here with the OnePlus. Now, generally, having the fingerprint sensor being built into the display is a more premium feature than having it built into the power button. However, it really mostly comes down to personal preference. Now, thankfully, both of these phones also have face unlock, so I do appreciate that we have multiple methods for getting into the phones. Now, taking a look at the camera modules on the back of these two devices, both phones do have triple camera setups. However, there are some differences. So with the OnePlus, we're getting a 64 megapixel main camera compared to a 50 megapixel main camera with the Motorola. And then both of these phones have 2 megapixel macro cameras and 2 megapixel depth sensing cameras for portrait mode. And then we do have portrait mode with both the rear and front cameras, which is pretty nice. Now you can see that the actual camera modules do feature some differences as far as the designs go here, but at the same time we are getting pretty much the same hardware features with them. Now here's how things look on the camera apps for both devices. This is with the main cameras right here. Then from there, we can switch over to the macro cameras on both devices, and we can get very close up and have things be in really good detail. So a nice feature to have. We can also then head over to portrait mode and get those nice blurred out backgrounds that I know that everybody's a big fan of. And then we can flip around to the front facing cameras and take portrait selfies. Now, of course, you can also take standard selfies as well. So in general, with both of these devices, we're getting quite a few different features when it comes to the various cameras on them. Now, unfortunately, both phones are limited at just 1080p for video recording, so there is no 4K video recording. But overall, we are getting quite a bit here with these various cameras, considering that these are relatively low-end devices. Now, with both of these phones, we're getting 6 gigabytes of RAM, but the processors are different. Now, with the Nord N20 5G, we're getting the Qualcomm Snapdragon 695 5G processor, and then with the Moto G 5G 2022, we're getting the MediaTek Dimensity 700 5G processor. So, as the names of those processors and these phones imply, they are compatible with 5G connectivity. Now, at this point in 2022, you can definitely get by with just 4G LTE, but at the same time though, if you're going to be getting a brand new device, then you might as well get one that is compatible with your carrier's latest and greatest network. So that is worth keeping in mind. But as far as the actual processing power of these various processors go, I did run a benchmark test using Geekbench 5, and I'll show you the scores from that test right now. But essentially with the Nord N20 5G, I got a single core score of 679 compared to 545 with the Moto G 5G 2022, and then there are the multi-core scores right there. So as you can see from these scores, and also based off of my experience of using both phones, the Nord N20 5G is definitely the faster phone of the two, but at the same time, the Moto G 5G 2022 does do a decent job keeping up. In general, I think both of these phones are ideal for somebody that does a lot of phone calls, text messages, social media, and also likes to take pictures and videos, but at the same time isn't somebody that does a lot of high-performance gaming or more advanced tasks like video editing, for example. If that's the case, then you might want to go for something a bit more powerful, but if you want a phone for the more typical smartphone tasks, then I think both of these will definitely get the job done for you. Now with the Nord N20 5G, we have a 4,500 milliamp hour internal battery, and then with the Moto G 5G 2022, we have a slightly larger battery at 5,000 milliamp hours. Now, thankfully, both of these phones will have no problem getting you through at least an entire day of usage, if not 2. So I'm definitely glad that we did get pretty large batteries with them. Now, with the Nord N20 5G, there is NFC, whereas with the Motorola, there is no NFC. So if you do like to use NFC to make mobile contactless payments using tap and pay, then the OnePlus is the only phone out of these two that is capable of that. And I know that for me at least, I definitely use that feature with any phone that does support it, and it's definitely disappointing when I'm using a phone that doesn't have it, especially because that feature has been out for a long time and it is genuinely useful, so it's too bad that there still are certain phones that don't have it. But now that we've gone over a variety of different details regarding the features and specifications of these two devices, let's now take a closer look at the hardware. Now, I already talked quite a bit about the front panels of these two phones. Of course, with the Motorola, we do have larger bezels all throughout, but at the same time, I do think both phones do have a pretty decent design. Now, both phones are made completely out of plastic, besides the displays, which are made of glass. But that being said though, I feel like they did a decent job of making these phones look and feel more premium than you'd probably expect with the materials that they're made out of. But taking a look at the left side of both devices, with the OnePlus, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card, and then volume up and volume down. And then on the Motorola, we just have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. And then taking a look at the right side of both phones, on the OnePlus, we just have the power button, and then on the Motorola, we have volume up and down, and then also the power button, which doubles as a fingerprint sensor. Then up top here with both devices, we do have the noise-canceling microphone, and then on the bottom of the two phones, we have 3.5mm headphone jacks, microphones, USB-C ports for charging and data transfer, and speakers. And then on the back of the two phones, we have the camera modules with the flash, and also the logos from both brands. Now, I do appreciate that both phones have kind of a matte finish on the back, so they really don't pick up too many fingerprints. The OnePlus kind of has a more cheaper plastic feel on the back, whereas this material with the Moto G 5G kind of has a smoother, softer feel to it. So I feel like both phones have really nice looking designs in general, but I do kind of prefer the way that the Motorola is constructed. However, I actually prefer how the OnePlus has a little bit more of a boxier look. So both phones kind of have their own trade-offs, but most importantly, I think both brands did a nice job with the general designs and appearances of these devices, especially considering that they really aren't top-of-the-line phones by any means. But this concludes my comparison of the OnePlus Nord N20 5G versus the Motorola Moto G 5G 2022. There's definitely a lot of things to consider with these two devices, but I would say the Nord N20 5G is definitely the better phone overall of these two. But at the same time, it really depends on what various deals and promotions are being offered for which one you should go for. So for example, if you can get the Moto G 5G 2022 for a lot less than the Nord N20 5G, then you definitely might want to consider going for this device. But if the prices are kind of the same or pretty similar, then I would definitely go for the OnePlus without a doubt. But hopefully this video made that decision a bit easier, and let me know what you think in the comments section below. But this is Kevin here, and I will see you in the next one. Take care and have a great rest of your day.